looking for the next way. Hey, hold up. Do you know this theme song real quick?
What's the theme song?
Just listen. It's a Pink Panther theme song. Hey. World's youngest DJ goes to Golden Budget, as you thought.
That's not Golden Budget.
That's a Pink Panther. I'm listening to youngest DJ.
Beta, okay. Tell us about Arch Jr.
Well, Arch Jr. is South Africa's youngest DJ. He basically started DJing at the age of what? He's a DJ! That's when we discovered that he had love for music.
So he's what, he's 2 now?
He just turned 3 a month.
Just turned 3.
Oh, he's 3. That's understandable, eh?
Alright, DJ Arch Jr., let's see what you got.
The block's more like the triangle with a beacon in it. It's to the point where I love and I hate you, but I cannot change you, so I must replace you. Right? Easier said than done, you go. I forgot this one. Lucid Dreams. I'm getting shot at.
I got sniped by 1 shot.
Oh!
The White House is the home of the President of the United States, so naturally there are extensive measures in place in the event of an attack. But what are those measures? And what happens if they fail? Welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Charlotte Dobre, and the question we are going to answer today is, what if the White House was attacked? The White House is mainly protected by the United States Secret Service. Since the 1950s, the White House is also protected by bulletproof glass. There have been times where shots were fired at the White House from 2,100 feet away, but the bullets did not penetrate the glass. The White House also has an iron fence reinforced by concrete that's mainly in place as a protective measure against car bombs, as well as intruders. There have been many people who have tried to climb the fence and succeeded in getting into the grounds, but they didn't get very far before being either gunned down or tackled by the Secret Service. All guests of the White House are screened by a magnetometer, and they are also background checked. All food that enters the White House is checked at an off-site facility. Even the air is filtered, keeping it free of contaminants. So what are the measures for dealing with a military threat? The area above the White House has a restricted airspace that extends for a 30 nautical mile radius. It's monitored 24/7. Planes and helicopters are not allowed to fly anywhere near the White House, but there have been times where the airspace has been breached. Usually a breach is due to the pilot trying to avoid bad weather. In the event the airspace is breached, a radio warning is sent out. Most pilots respond to the warning, but if they don't, there's a couple things that could happen. Lasers are in place on the roof of the White House to detect anything that flies into its airspace. Bright lasers flash red, red, green, and are easily seen by pilots, even during daylight, from up to 20 miles away. If an aircraft does fly into the space, authorities are immediately notified. First, the bright lasers flood the cockpits of the planes to warn the pilots they're in the vicinity of Washington. If those lights are ignored, the Coast Guard Dolphin helicopters are alerted, and they fly near the aircraft with bright warning signs. But the ultimate security measure is annihilating the aircraft to stop it from committing a presumed terrorist attack. If the threat is dire, the White House, along with downtown Washington, D.C., will be evacuated. According to the FAA, a little Cessna with 250 pounds of explosives behind the pilot is all it would take to ruin Washington's day. So what if all these security measures fail, and the White House suffers an attack by a civilian aircraft? Military commanders do not disclose the information that has to do with destroying civilian aircraft, for obvious reasons. Even so, the military trains for this on a regular basis, and the authority to destroy an aircraft is excluded to only the... What if America went to war with the rest of the world? That doesn't just include America's enemies, but all of its global allies as well. Would it mean a global disaster? Would it mean the total destruction of America? Or would America prevail? That is exactly what we're going to talk about right now on Life's Biggest Questions. Hello and welcome back to LBQ. Don't forget to like and subscribe and write your topic suggestions in the comments below. If America found itself in a war with the rest of the world, the most logical thing to do would be to pull back and defend itself on its home soil. And using the entire strength of the military, Navy, and Air Force, the U.S. would be able to defend itself for quite some time. Possibly until the rest of the world. Keyword, possibly. America's Navy is the biggest in the world. It's so big that the next 8 largest navies combined are nowhere near as powerful or as technologically advanced. So attacking America by sea is not the brightest idea. It's highly unlikely an enemy to America by sea. The U.S. also has the strongest and best Air Force on the planet. It has around 1,400 planes and helicopters. That's a heck of a lot more than everybody else. If there were a war between the U.S. and the rest of the world, the F-22, the world's only 5th-generation fighter, would patrol the continental U.S. on its borders and intercept any enemy bombers that got too close. Missile launchers would also shoot down approaching enemy jets, planes, and missiles. So that rules out an attack by air or sea. Then there's the question of a land invasion. The U.S. Army and Marine Corps has around 9,000 tanks, which are the world's most advanced.
That's tough, bro. No one can get into America.
Most of the tanks
if America gets attacked, bro, we're gonna win. That's all I gotta say.
Firing behind cover. If all else fails and a handful of enemy troops get past the front lines, they have nowhere to hide. America's combat troops are also the most technologically advanced in the world. Like something out of a sci-fi movie, they have weapon sights that allow them to see enemies through dust and smoke.
Oh no, Zach.
What?
No, in America, you should come to America if a war breaks out, dude. I never knew that the American army had so they have this thing where they could see through anything. That's something out of
America.
Are you in America?
That's pretty much gay as well. Yeah.
Okay, so wait, you are or not?
Yeah, I am. I live in Nevada.
I live in Oakland, so I'm more protected than you. Hey, coach, hold up. Remix, huh? Remix. How am I not remixing this kid?
Remix. I remix that kid.
Yep.
Oh, give me the sneaky snowman.
I'll just take this. You remixed the freak out of that kid's face.
What do sneaky snowmen do?
You put them on like a bandage usually.
What?
You use them as like a bandage, I think. You could put them on like a bandage and then. Hold up, 2 more kids. One more kid to remix. Yep. Wait, huh? Whoa!
Catch this remix.
That's tough.
I stopped that dude.
Hold up, let me get this kid. Let me get him with that remix. America!
Get him with that remix.
This is America. Watch your steps, so yeah.
Don't get your swimming up.
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
I hit him once. I hit him once. I killed him. Assist kill. I got that assist kill though.
Oh, bro! All it took was one more shot and I was dead.
I got that assist kill. I help you kill that dude.
I remixed the freak out of that kid. I hear him. He's up there.
I still see your shadows in my room.
Target what? I'm done with this.
Even around corners, engineers for the U.S. Army designed a night vision system that allows the Army to see what's behind a corner, allow them to run up to it, and poke their weapon around the wall to fire at the enemy. Soldiers are protected by advanced protective armor, and it's only getting better. And that's just the technology we know about.
It's to the point where I love it and I hate you, but I cannot change you, so I replace you with easier said than done. You will
nuclear weapons. The scenario would be much different if the world decided to use nuclear weapons against the U.S. 9 of the world's countries possess around 15,000 nuclear weapons. The U.S. was the first country to develop nuclear weapons, and it's the only country to ever have used them. America's arsenal is about 6,800 warheads strong. Russia is in possession of the largest nuclear arsenal on the planet. They possess around 7,000 warheads. The United Kingdom has 215, France has 300, China has 270, India around 110, 120, Pakistan 120 to 130, Israel has around 80, and North Korea is believed to have around 10. Many or most of these nuclear weapons are many times more powerful than the atomic bombs dropped on Japan in World War II. If any enemies decide to fire a nuclear weapon at a major U.S. city from somewhere like Canada or Mexico, it could likely be shot down. Navy Trident missiles could be fired from submarines in the Gulf of Mexico. Mexico and Canada would become exposed to radiation from those missiles. Here's where the tides begin to turn. A war of this scale would not come cheap. Yes, the U.S. can withstand offensive attacks for some time, but keeping the war going, that's another problem. America would find itself in a situation like Germany at the end of World War II. No resources, no trade, bankrupt. That would be the opportunity for enemy forces to strike. Russia would strike with Canada from the north, Mexico from the south, Europe from the east, China and North Korea from the west. No country on earth, not even the one with the strongest military, can withstand an attack from all sides with absolutely no allies. So what if America then lost a war against the rest of the world? Well, that sounds like a topic for another Life's Biggest Questions. I'm Charlotte Dobre for LBQ. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Life's Biggest Questions for all of your answers.
I'm pretty sure some asshole just stole my joke. Please, don't give me sticky. That's it. We're all gonna lose our jobs.
10 apocalypses that we survived. Number 10, the Black Death. The Black Death is probably the most famous plague ever to hit humanity, but most people don't realise it's taken a huge chunk out of the world's population on more than one occasion. Yersinia pestis, the bacterium responsible for the bubonic plague, had its first breakout appearance in 541 CE. Known as the Plague of Justinian, the disease swept through the Byzantine Empire, killing 5,000 people a day for over a year. Eventually, around 50 million people died, 25% of the world's population at the time. Then in 1346, the plague re-emerged as the Black Death. Giant swellings appeared on victims' bodies as they fell into fevers and started throwing up blood. Oh, and they died. Anywhere from 75 million to 200 million people were killed by the Black Death. But I guess no one was massively worried about keeping exact records when all their friends were busy vomiting up blood. Roughly 60% of Europe's population disappeared, and the world population didn't reach pre-plague levels until 250 years later. There was even a third plague outbreak in China in 1855, taking another 10 million people out. Yet humanity survived all of it. Or at least, we have so far. Technically, the plague still exists. Number 9, the Ice Age.
I'm dead, I have nothing.
Nowadays, it only has to dip below room temperature to send most of us reaching for snugging. So, it's pretty incredible that humans managed to survive the Ice Age. Yet that's exactly what scientists now know happened, at least according to research from a journal so scientific and sciencey, they call it science. The paper dates recently discovered human fossils at 37,000 years old, meaning mankind Ice Age, which is
I'm so dead.
freeze us on the Earth. With temperatures dipping around the world and plants dying, life suddenly became much harder. Every subspecies of human except Homo sapiens, that's us, and Neanderthals, a dumber version of us, died out. Some scientists think that we only made it through the freezing era because a few hundred of us happened to find a small, warm region 200 odd miles east of modern-day Cape Town. So,
I scared the crap out of me.
Ice Age. Yep, Ice
If I were doing a face cam video, you would have seen me jump.
Fortunately, our ancestors just about managed to survive sitting in the Ice Age. Although to this day, there is no proof that any human has ever survived sitting all the way through Ice Age 5. Number 8, 2012 solar flare. In 1859, Earth was struck with a massive solar storm. While everyone was messing about doing Victorian-y things like trying on corsets and growing amazing mustaches, a bizarre white light appeared over Australia. Although to astronomers Richard Carrington and Richard Hodgson spotted the event, there was no effect to society as a whole.
What?
Today, You see, the solar flare that struck the Earth would have interfered with our modern power grid, crippling it and forcing us to live without power. That means no artificial light, no internet for information, no communication more advanced than shouting, and worst of all, no more selfies. The scary thing is this almost happened in 2012. And that year there was a massive solar storm that just missed the Earth. And I mean just. If the storm had started 6 minutes earlier, our planet would have been hit, and according to NASA, we'd still be picking up the pieces. Number 7. Tunguska event. When not trying to kill us with solar flares, space has a simpler, if less elegant solution, chucking giant rocks at us. We all know a meteorite wiped out the dinosaurs, but the event that turned the T-Rex from King Lizard to Smithsonian exhibit was far from a one-off. In 1908, a meteorite rocketed into our atmosphere and started plummeting to the ground. It landed at Tunguska in the middle of Siberia, which is just another way of saying the middle of nowhere. It's lucky the meteorite landed where it did. The impact was 1,000 times more powerful than an A-bomb, and 80 million trees were uprooted by the blast. People hundreds of kilometers away claim to have heard the explosion, and there are reports of windows breaking in nearby towns. Considering the damage one A-bomb did to Hiroshima or Nagasaki, something with 1,000 times the power would have wiped out even the largest city. Had the meteorite's path differed slightly, the comet could have hit Moscow, turning the city to dust and dramatically changing the course of history. Number 6. Population collapse. A million years ago, humanity came to the brink of extinction, and the scariest thing, we don't even know how it happened. Scientists researching Neolithic man have found that our population suddenly and mysteriously bottlenecked. In other words, the number of humans plummeted, something to as low as 18,000. That's low enough to make human beings an endangered species. There are a number of theories as to how this happened, but the two most prominent theories are these. Either A, we suffered from some mass extinction event like a giant earthquake or a volcanic eruption, or B, we became overpopulated in one region and killed off our food supply there. Whatever happened, it was enough to have a long-term impact on the population. Fossil evidence suggests that the number of humans stayed around 18,000 for tens of thousands of years. With a head count so low, humans were extremely vulnerable, and another cataclysmic event could easily put an end to our species, permanently. Number 5. Shanxi earthquake. If you woke up and 1% of China had died, it would probably feel something like an apocalypse, especially if all those people had just been wiped out by a single event. Well, that happened once. In 1556, Shanxi province in northern China.
Oh God, jeez Louise.
It reached 7.9 on the Richter scale. For the non-earthquake experts among you, that's 10 times as powerful as the earthquake that devastated Haiti in 2010. The impact of this China-shaking event was massive. 830,000 people died. That may not sound like a lot compared with the Black Death or the Ice Age, but actually it was a whopping 60% of the population of central China. That's the equivalent of an earthquake killing 780 million people nowadays.
That's tough.
The cost of the damage is impossible to measure, but it almost caused the Chinese government and economy to collapse. Similar collapse today would bring the world economy to its knees, sparking chaos and destruction around the world. Number 4. Permian-Triassic extinction. By now, you've probably got the idea that man
someone in your house.
Some pretty intense things. We've been hit with diseases, natural disasters, and
Zuck, I got you.
Yet we clung on and out.
I got bandaged. I got a med kit.
Didn't get the chance to be plucky little survivors.
Zach! I was right here.
Before we even existed.
Can you not?
250 million BCE, when we were still hands.
Here's Johnny.
There was a mass extinction event.
I know I couldn't.
Sniper rousing.
Though there's this really
Really, John? That's
stupid John Wick.
Becoming stagnated and deadly. Bad news if you're a little
I shouldn't have gotten rid of my balloons. I should have kept my balloons.
Killing 96% of all.
I escaped.
But it didn't stop there. Not having a reliable source of clean water also proved fatal to 70% of land-based species. The Permian-Triassic extinction was so devastating to the Earth that NASA refers to
the John Wick took the L.
Fortunately, our ancestors managed to struggle through, and now you get to sit here watching YouTube videos. Number 3. Spanish flu. We've already seen what the bubonic plague could do when let loose on medieval Europe. But in those days, the most advanced medical science got was saying, just throw some leeches at it and try not to upset any witches. For a plague to be as deadly in the 20th century, when we had a decent grounding in disease prevention, seems almost impossible. Yet that's exactly what Spanish flu achieved. In 1918, Spanish flu spread rapidly around the world, infecting 250 million people. The disease turned having a strong immune system into a deadly weakness, causing bodies to overreact to the pathogen by sending countless T cells to the infected area.
No way you
These
actually
cells
found
were often
that.
sent in such high concentrations that they blocked the airways to the lungs.
What? Which one?
In their own fluids.
The
Basically,
golden
the disease
suppressed
tricked your body
sniper.
into doing the equivalent
Yeah, I
of
found it.
trying to remove facial acne with a shotgun. The disease
In a
disappeared by the end
chest?
of the year, probably mutating into a less deadly strain of
What?
flu.
Doesn't that mean I have to be super lucky?
Million people. A re-emergence of the Spanish flu remains Bill Gates' biggest fear for the future. In fact, he rates the odds of it happening within his lifetime as 50-50.
Pick up a sneaky snowman.
Number 2, World War II.
Oh, that's tough.
Just to tell you that World War II was a pretty big deal. Over 25 million soldiers perished.
If you want to know about World War II, you just gotta play Call of Duty World War II.
Of the Holocaust, and that brings the total to a staggering 85.
Who needs school when there's a game about it?
Even more deadly than that. We now know that Hitler had his Nazi scientists working around the clock to develop a nuclear weapon. From 1939 onwards, the German nuclear program grew even closer to successfully splitting the atom. Some even claimed that they were on the verge of completing an atomic bomb, and that he already had plans drawn up to nuke London and New York.
That's tough. Why London or New York?
The fact that Nazis were quite able to rain nuclear hell down on us was in large part due to their own bigotry. All the prominent Jewish physicists in the country had been killed off or fired.
That's...
The Nazis without many of the leading experts they could have relied on.
I
Number
live
1,
in America,
Toba
Nevada, Las
supervolcano.
Vegas.
When you hear the term
That's cool. I swear to God, I just saw someone try to snipe at me.
There's someone nearby you.
I know, but where is everybody?
Use your sniper.
Where?
volcano, you know things are about to get real, and the Toba supervolcano is no exception. As devastating as all the other events on this list have been, this was the closest mankind ever came to extinction. In 70,000 BCE, while humans were still learning which end of the spear to use, the Toba supervolcano suddenly exploded. And we mean exploded. Experts at the real and epically named Volcanic Explosivity Index describe the eruption as mega-colossal. Yeah, this thing was so big, it caused to make it worse.
Explorer pop-up duos time.
The heat and power of the eruption vaporized 2,800 kilometers of surrounding rock, sending it all into the atmosphere. For comparison,
What will happen in 10 quintillion years? Hello, guys. What's the...
About 8 million years ago, a little baleen whale was swimming in the warm coastal waters of Peru. It was only about 3 or 4 meters long, about the size of a beluga whale, and while it filtered mouthfuls of plankton-rich water, it was unaware that just below it swam a predator. Like the great white sharks of our time, this predator likely hunted whales from below or behind, in case its prey was capable of echolocation. It turns out that this little whale, known as Piscobalaena, didn't have that ability, but for the hunter, the element of surprise was enough. It swam up for the attack, and that was that for Piscobalaena. We know who the predator was because it left a tooth in the whale's body, which eventually fossilized. It usually goes by its species name, Megalodon, and it was the largest shark that ever lived. At up to 18 meters, it was almost 3/4 of the size of a modern blue whale. Its teeth were as big as your hand or bigger, and its jaws were wide enough to swallow you whole. Megalodon lived all over the world, from the Netherlands to New Zealand. And for more than 10 million years, it was at the top of its game as the ocean's apex predator, until 2.6 million years ago when it went extinct. Yes, really. Don't let Hollywood convince you otherwise.
I know you're smarter than that. Megalodon disappeared entirely from the fossil record, just as the Pliocene gave way to the Pleistocene. And there's also proof of its extinction in the composition of marine life that we find today, especially in the kinds and sizes of whales that swim in our modern oceans. So what happened to the largest shark in history? Well, it turns out that while Megalodon may have been the biggest shark that ever swam, it would eventually be defeated by the greatest. Megalodon was the biggest, scariest shark in a family of big, scary sharks. It belongs to the diverse order of sharks known as lamniforms, which today include sand tigers, goblins, threshers,
I don't learn
and the
from my
great white.
mistakes.
And when Megalodon was first described in 1835, scientists thought that its big, serrated, blade-like teeth looked so much like those of the great white that Megalodon was originally placed in the same family. But today, based on features around the base of its massive teeth, most experts think that it was probably in a separate family whose members are all now extinct, called Otodontidae, also known as the megatoothed sharks. Now, one of the oldest and smallest of the group of megatooths that gave rise to Megalodon was a shark known as Otodus obliquus, which lived in the early Eocene nearly 20 million years before Megalodon appeared on the scene. And some scientists think that Megalodon belonged to this same genus, Otodus, while others assign it to another genus of extinct sharks called Carcharocles. Either way, Megalodon was the largest of all the megatooths, first showing up in the fossil record about 23 million years ago. So how and why...
You got a gun for me?
Huge. Well, Megalodon's massive size was linked to the size of its prey, and both were shaped by forces much bigger than themselves. These external forces began at the end of the Mesozoic, when plate tectonics caused the uplift of mountains in North America and Asia.
You got a gun?
Growing mountain ranges pumped massive amounts
Yeah,
of
this is my only
rich
gun.
sediment into
Oh, okay.
oceans, increasing the productivity of ecosystems near the shore.
I got a sneaky
and
stone
as the
in.
algae and plants grew, so did the Megalodon's preferred food group, marine mammals.
I saw
Marine
somebody.
mammals like
I
whales,
swear to God, I
dolphins,
saw
and seals all
somebody.
have pretty high fat content, making them a nutritious, high-calorie snack for any predator that can catch them. And as the marine mammals grew over time, so did the sharks. Over the course of about 20 million years, marine mammals and the line of megatoothed sharks that led to Megalodon both doubled in size. And Megalodon in particular started to grow too, fast. Fossils of newborn Megalodon found in places like Panama show that they were about 2 to 3 meters long, half the size of a modern great white shark, and about 1.5 times as large as their ancestor Otodus obliquus. And these massive baby sharks grew like weeds. We know this because shark vertebrae show rings of their growth just like tree rings. And these rings show that Megalodon babies grew almost twice as quickly as Otodus obliquus, reaching their maximum length at around 25 years old. So getting bigger over time and then getting bigger faster probably helped Megalodon keep up in the ongoing size race with the marine
Jesus.
mammals it hunted.
Can I have a hunting rifle, please?
Watch out!
Its teeth have been found stuck in the ribs of many unidentified whale species, as well as tiny Pitsolbolina, and even a pinniped about the size of a sea lion. So size was
Behind
a
you.
very useful adaptation for the giant
Oh,
shark.
Jesus.
Until it wasn't.
It's an ambush.
2.6 million years ago, Megalodon
Fuck.
disappeared. And there are a couple of potential reasons for this. One thing, 2.6 million years ago marked the beginning of the Pleistocene, when cooler temperatures and long periods of glaciation
Let me
began to
hide.
set in, also known as the Ice Ages. This change in temperature could have affected Megalodon directly, or it
Fuck.
could have impacted its food source.
Oh god, I have to heal. Okay, I have to heal.
Of how and where whales live. As the
So
climate
do
shifted,
I.
more productive environments
You got any heals on you?
began to take shape closer to the pole.
Yeah.
So whales started to spend a lot more time there. And
I
became
shot
more
somebody in the
migratory.
nuts
So
with
maybe
my
the problem for
fucking
Megalodon was that its
sniper.
prey started moving to where the water was colder, too cold perhaps, for
Really?
Megalodon to follow. Or
Whoa! Whoa! Bully! Bully! You bully! Jack, get over here! Jack! Jack!
In 2016, a group of
I'm
Why'd you
nearby
leave?
by
you.
Dr. Carolina Tinmouthko decided to test
Use the feeders, delete us.
Specifically, they tested
There's
the
another
assumption
guy
that
over there
Megalodon
as well.
could live in
No!
Pimiento and her team used a climate forecasting model to recreate ocean temperatures during the Pliocene
Don't worry.
and compared the
Bruh, I am at the Minecraft limit.
They found that while the sharks were
64. I am at 60. Freaking
its fossils
or
still found its way
missing all my shots.
So Megalodon
Nope.
probably
Hold up.
with colder water, which makes sense because many bird sharks today are mesothermic. they can keep their active even in colder waters. So if changes to the whale's movement and habitats wasn't the problem, then what was? Well, the disappearance of Megalodon seems to coincide with two big important changes in the animal kingdom. The first was the appearance of new predators that Megalodon had to compete with. For example, starting around the middle of the Miocene, we find the giant sperm whale with the epic name of Leviathan melvillei, named for none other than the author of Moby Dick. But unlike the suction-feeding sperm whales of our time, Leviathan had short, powerful jaws, and its teeth were big, strong, and meant for biting into flesh. Also, at 17 meters long, Leviathan wasn't just snacking on squid, it was eating other whales. And it was only one of many species of carnivorous whales in the Middle Miocene. In the Late Miocene, another adversary shows up in the fossil record, the earliest ancestor of the great white shark, Carcharodon habeli. This shark was a direct competitor with Megalodon, as proven by its tooth marks that have been found in fossils of the same whale species that we know Megalodon ate, namely that little Piscobalaena. Then, a few million years later, in the early Pliocene, the first fossils appear of the modern great white, Carcharodon carcharias. Now, in addition to having to compete with newer, more nimble sharks like these, some of Megalodon's most important prey, namely whales, were on the decline. Toward the end of the Pliocene, the number of whales dramatically decreased from about 60 whale species to about 40. Many of these species were filter feeders and fed on krill and other organisms, which in turn ate microscopic algae called diatoms. And starting around 3 million years ago, the oceans began to experience a serious drop in diatom diversity. It's not 100% clear why this happened, but it might relate to changes in ocean circulation that took place when North and South America finally came together, and water could no longer circulate between the Pacific and the Atlantic. Regardless of the reasons, fewer diatoms meant fewer krill, which in turn meant fewer whales, and with less food, Megalodon had to compete harder with the smaller and faster great white shark. Being bigger is great if it gives you the advantage of having access to a different food group, but when it no longer does, it means you're just bulkier and require more food to survive. Which is why 2.6 million years ago, the very last of the Megalodon disappeared from the fossil record. And the absence of the Megalodon may have had a big impact on the world's oceans. In the past couple million years, great white sharks and orcas have taken over the role of apex predator. But these much smaller carnivores couldn't hunt the larger whales that Megalodon was likely able to eat. For instance, we know that modern great whites frequently eat dolphins half their size, so it's possible that an 18-meter Megalodon was eating whales that were as big as 9 meters. Much too big for other predators to handle. And after Megalodon went extinct, the size of whales exploded. During the Pleistocene, the waters grew colder, and the new and improved productivity at the poles meant diatoms bounced back. This newly productive environment, along with the absence of large predators, whales were able to become twice as big as the biggest whales of the Pliocene. This is why the blue whale, the largest animal our planet has ever seen, appeared in the fossil record only recently, less than 2 million years ago. Without 18-meter sharks swimming around, the oceans could finally host 25-meter whales. So Megalodon and its ancestors had a great run. Over 30 million years, they became larger in order to eat larger marine mammals. But when those mammals started to disappear, and when competition with great white sharks and other predators became too fierce, Megalodon didn't make the evolutionary cut. But it's worth noting that the biggest great white sharks of today are about 1 meter longer than their ancestors were in the Miocene, and they grow a little faster when they're young too, just like Megalodon did. It took nearly 30 million years for the megatoothed sharks to reach the enormous size of Megalodon, a slow transformation that took place as whales and other marine mammals slowly grew in size. But whales today are already enormous and face very few predators, which leaves the niche of super shark wide open. So it just might be that the great white shark could become the Megalodon of the future, and that giant sharks might patrol our oceans once again. Thanks for joining me today, and a special thanks to our eontologists Jake Hart, John Ivy, John Davidson Ng, and Steve. If you'd like to join them in supporting this channel, head over to patreon.com/eons and make your pledge for some neat and nerdy benefits. Now, what do you want to learn about? Leave your girl a comment, and don't forget to go to youtube.com/eons and subscribe.
No! Let's just play normal duos. Tyler, can we play normal duos?
Fascinating place on our planet. And the ocean and space are the two things we are.
I'll be back, Jack. I need to get my hair done.
Every time an explorer plunges into the ocean, it's unlikely.
How would humanity fare against these fearsome predators if they were still around today? When you decide to keep pets.
Ow!
I'm right here. You're what? Oh, fish on road.
Conifer, Colorado, for adult son Richard, who tried stepping in, also got injured, and had to call 911 for help. When rescuers arrived, the dogs were no longer aggressive, but the elderly woman was already drawing her final breath. Richard, who survived the attack, had no idea.
Tyler. Back yet?
Isaiah, bring your steak. Come here. Come here, come here. You shouldn't have threw it.
You back yet?
Alright, I'm back.
The mother and son pair who
I'm
lived
gonna
together
trick
had been
everybody.
issued warnings before, as the two dogs were known by neighbors to be overly aggressive and loose. The animals were rounded up and taken into custody and later euthanized. The whole
The
incident
only
was
dance
deemed
I'm
an
gonna
extremely
do is
rare and
just
tragic case by officials.
the default
Number
dance.
9. Black Widow Spider. In 2004, local police in Dortmund, Germany, had to respond to complaints of a horrendous smell coming from an apartment. When they entered the place, they found the corpse of Mark Vogel,
Yeah.
the homeowner, covered in cobwebs, with hundreds of spiders crawling all over his body, in and out of his mouth, ears, and nose. In addition to the creepy crawlies, Mark's body was being snacked on by hungry snakes, termites, and a gecko. He was Widow Spider.
I never learn from my mistakes. Ever. I never ever learn from my mistakes. I'm going back to Tilted. Because I don't learn from my mistakes, I'm going back to Tilted.
They found Mark Vogel, the homeowner, covered in cobwebs, with hundreds of spiders crawling all over his body, in and out of his mouth, ears, and nose. In addition to the creepy crawlies, Mark's body was being snacked on by hungry snakes, termites, and a gecko. He was estimated to have died at between a week or two before the discovery of his corpse. Officials described the apartment as a cross between a botanical garden and the butterfly breeding ground in the film The Silence of the Lambs. The creatures had been kept in terrible condition, a form of animal cruelty itself. It is assumed that Mark's Black Widow spider, Bettina, had ended her owner's life with a venomous bite. Number 8. Red Deer. Gerald Roston had been raising a European red stag since it was a fawn, along with other exotic animals in his property in Harrison County, Texas. He had been ignoring the advice of wildlife officials to get rid of the stag, as it was an exotic animal unsuitable for domestication. In November 2010, as Gerald entered the stag's pen to feed it, the 550-pound animal suddenly became aggressive, charging him and pinning him against the fence. It went on to trample the 67-year-old man and gorged him several times with its antlers on the chest, abdomen, and back. The red stag had to be shot so rescuers could get to Gerald. However, the poor man had died on the scene. Experts commented that since it was fall, the deer had entered mating season, causing it to become highly aggressive and dangerous during that time. Number 7. Domestic hog. In September 2012, Terry Vance Garner, an elderly farmer, went to feed his herd of hogs on his Oregon ranch. The man never returned. When family members went looking for him, they were shocked to find bits and pieces of his body scattered throughout the hog enclosure. Due to Terry's old age, he was 69 at the time of his death, and no signs of criminal activity, it is believed that Terry had suffered an accident, possibly a medical emergency such as a heart attack. The helpless man would have then been knocked down by the 700-pound animals before being killed and devoured. Not much was left of him, apart from his dentures and an undisclosed body part. It was confirmed that at least one of the hogs had been aggressive toward his now deceased owner in the past, having bitten him at least once. Although domestic hogs are not known to be as violent as wild hogs, there seems to always be exceptions. Number 6. Hippopotamus. Years ago, a baby hippo was saved from a flood in South Africa. Marius Els, an army major, then bought the hippo at the age of 5 months after it grew too big for the people who first took it in. Named Humphrey, the creature would grow into a 1-ton adult hippo on Marius's 400-acre farm in Free State Province. Marius was repeatedly warned to let go of Humphrey, as it was considered a wild, untamable animal. With their enormous teeth and incredible speed, despite their weight, hippos kill more humans than any other wild beasts in Africa every year. Despite this, Marius insisted he had a special relationship with Humphrey and took pride in owning what was considered one of the world's most dangerous animals. But as nature intended, the wild instincts of the beast took hold. Humphrey frequently escaped his enclosure, killed other farm animals, and chased humans it encountered. Humphrey would eventually attack his owner one night in 2011, biting him repeatedly. Marius's body was found submerged in a river that ran through his farm, mutilated beyond measure. Number 5. Black Bear. Michael Walls was a dealer of exotic pets who had been keeping wild animals in his home without a valid permit. His wide collection included a lion, jaguar, tiger, and a black bear, all looked after by Michael himself and his wife, Kelly. In October 2009, Kelly Walls entered the black bear's steel cage. She distracted the 350-pound creature with some food she tossed at one end and went to clean the other end. But at one point, the bear turned around and brutally mauled his owner. The horrific incident happened in front of the eyes of her children and some neighborhood children who quickly went to get help. The neighbor came running, armed, and shot the bear while it was on top of Kelly. Kelly was pronounced dead at the scene. The attack was in part the owner's own fault, as they failed to have a 2-section cage, which would allow the animal to be isolated at one side, while the other is
Dusty.
clean. According to that neighbor, Kelly had carelessly been cleaning the cage her way 1,000 times without getting harmed. However, all it took was the 1,001th time to get her killed. Number 4. Burmese python snake. In 1996, 2 Bronx teenage brothers named Grant and Lamar Williams bought a Burmese python for $300 at a local pet store, thinking to make a career in herpetology or the study and care of reptiles. They kept it caged in their bedroom, often showing it off to friends. One day, the 19-year-old Grant Williams prepared to feed his 44-pound snake with live chicken he just bought, but the reptile instead quickly coiled itself around the young man's body, preferring him as food. Grant was later found by his neighbors in a pool of his own blood, lying in the apartment building's hallway with the 13-foot-long snake still coiled around him. They called 911, and rescuers managed to free him from the strong python grip, but he died over an hour later while on the way to the hospital. The snake was transferred to the Bronx Zoo. The species is one of the largest in the world, and although can be handled quite well as pets, also readily feeds on whatever prey it finds. Unlike professional reptile keepers, the young brothers were careless and had no idea about the precautions necessary in feeding the large snakes. Number 3. Camel. This case itself is unusually disturbing for this list. Unlike the other murderous animals mentioned, this animal killed its owner by trying to have sex with her. Pam Weaver, an exotic pet lover from Australia, was given a camel by her husband for her 60th birthday. The 10-month-old camel showed signs of erratic behavior early on, having tried to mate with animal species in the family's sheep and cattle ranch near Brisbane. One evening in August
Why are you all the way over there?
Pam's husband, Noel, came to discover his wife's dead body lying on the ground, with a camel footprint on one side of her face and another on her arm. Investigators concluded that the 330-pound pet had knocked down his owner, lay on top of her, and humped her to death. A camel expert commented that the behavior was no doubt amorous in behavior, although its
I'll be
sexual
there in a
aggressiveness was
No!
unusual for its young age.
Gene.
Number 2. Siberian tiger. As chairman of the Canadian Exotic Animal Owners Association, Norman Buwalda was a big advocate for keeping
I'll
wild
get
animals
revenge.
as pets. The man had 5 wild cats he kept on his property in Ontario, including a tiger, lion, and a cougar. In June 2004, a 10-year-old boy came to his property to take photos of the exotic creatures on Norman's property, only to get mauled by the Siberian tiger held there. The 350-pound cat was on a leash held by Norman. However, it managed to leap forward and attack the boy, inflicting serious head and neck wounds on him. Norman was never implicated as he had legal possession of the animals. However, the incident caused the neighboring community to campaign to have the animals banned and removed, which Norman fought hard against and won. However, Norman would soon fall victim to one of his own cats he fought so hard for. One day in 2010, as he entered the cage of one of his tigers alone to feed it, the beast brutally attacked his 66-year-old owner. A family member found his mutilated body shortly afterwards, lying in the tiger's cage. Number 1. African lion. Al Abel and his wife Kathy had established an exotic animal exhibition farm tucked in southern Illinois. The private zoo was something the couple had dreamt of for years and were finally able to establish in their retirement age. The couple would go on to manage the place together, but fate took a turn for the worse in February 2004 when Al was left to tidy the animal pens on his own as his wife left to run errands. The 52-year-old man entered the pen of Simba, a 5-year-old African Barbary lion, to change its bedding. It was the first time for him to do the task alone, and his inexperience led him to forget to lock the gate, which separated him from the 380-pound beast that was sitting in a smaller pen while he had the area cleaned. When Kathy returned home late afternoon, not only did she find her husband missing, but Simba was roaming around freely in the area outside its enclosure. She had to call the sheriff's office to put the lion down, and they eventually found Al's body lying nearby. Kathy admitted her husband was growing forgetful and was careless as he had grown too comfortable around the almost full-grown lion they had raised since it was a cub. Unfortunately, the lion's natural beastly instincts were not something that could have been tamed by the couple. Find out more about fatal entities that will kill you by subscribing or clicking on one of the links below.
I don't learn from my mistakes. Tilted Tours, here we come. This is probably one of the stupidest ideas ever.
A Virginia man claims he spotted Bigfoot and he has the video to prove it.
Finally, somebody. We're going to let you be the judge.
Take a look. This is the YouTube video. Can you see real closely there?
Yeah, that's
It was
Bigfoot.
supposedly shot near the Did you say that's Bigfoot like you've seen him before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I watch those Bigfoot shows.
All right. This was shot apparently near the Intracoastal Waterway earlier this month. Randy O'Neill says he captured the images with his cell phone while he was camping with his dad, watching them from the woods. So he claims he fired a shotgun, heard something scream and go crashing through the trees. O'Neill says he and his father experienced a similar encounter some 25 years ago. You know, it's always one of these kind of mysterious things. But if I was him, I wouldn't go back in the woods again since you shot Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And he saw you 25 years ago. He's probably going to come after you again.
Bigfoot has some brothers. They're going to come after you, too.
Or his babies, whatever.
Yeah.
Big Mama and Bigfoot. Watch out.
Legends of Bigfoot, otherwise known as the Yeti, date as far back as Native American folklore. Since the invention of video technology, there have been many claims of capturing footage of these mysterious creatures. Following are 5 of the most compelling Bigfoot videos. Number 1. Frozen Canyon Rock Thrower. In December of 2012, hikers were walking the trails of Frozen Canyon, where they constantly felt their feet. They spotted a creature of the
No, help!
What? Through a door?
You could just stick around and hightail it out of there. Take a look and tell me your thoughts.
Do we both die at the same time if one of us die?
Uh-huh.
That seems fucking annoying.
Number 2, Mississippi Skunk Ape. In late October of 2013, a man by the name of Joseph Highcliffe was hunting wild boar in Tunica, Mississippi, when he came across a creature he'd never seen before. At first he thought it could have been a boar, but then noticed that the shape of it just didn't add up. He decided to get his phone and start filming. As he films, you can see the creature picking at a tree and throwing the bark in the water, almost like it's trying to snap with hands for the bark. Highcliffe gets a good amount of footage before it stands straight up and then decides it's best to get out. Check it out.
Don't do that stuff. They're gonna know that you're like a pro at this game.
No, I won't. Any random default can have that skin. That damn.
Southern Oregon. Local psychologist Matthew Johnson had what's been called one of the most credible Bigfoot sightings of the last 20 years. Less than 70
Whatever
miles
you do,
from the
don't
most famous
die.
of all Bigfoot encounters at Bluff Creek, California, Johnson says he saw the creature on a remote trail at the Oregon Caves National Monument, a popular tourist destination. 8 years later, the Daily Courier and the DailyCourier.com took Johnson back to the exact spot where it all happened. This is the tree.
Whatever you do, don't die.
Described the animal he saw as an upright
Just
walking
please don't
ape-like
die.
creature more than 8 feet tall.
Why would you say that? Because now my enemy has a suppressed scar.
Weighed 709
When you said whatever you do, don't die. Now I'm gonna die.
here at same time of day to tell his story and possibly catch another glimpse of the creature that he says changed his life.
Everything I knew about the great outdoors came crashing down. I'd never been so scared in my life.
Is that how it works?
The encounter
What?
spurred Johnson to begin gathering
If I tell you not to die, you're gonna die?
expeditions
Is
Yes.
that how it
to the Oregon
works?
wilderness. For the first time on any broadcast, we'll
But
examine
just don't say I'm gonna, you know what, because then that'll just affect me too.
the investigators who looked into Johnson's sighting.
I did find what appeared to be at least one track. Scale of 1 to 10.
Are you in battle?
As a matter of fact, he seemed very credible.
Finally, Johnson will
No, I
reveal
need
what
help.
he calls indisputable evidence that the creature calls this area home. Located in southwest Oregon near the California border,
I need
Oregon
help!
caves are about
No,
a half an
I'm
hour's
about to
drive
die.
from the small
So what just did take the L?
The trip up a narrow, windy road takes
Oh yeah, behind him.
and deep into the vast Oregon wilderness.
No!
After a trip through the caves on July
Huh?
2000, Johnson, along with his wife and children, decided to hike the Big Tree Loop Trail and enjoy the warm summer afternoon. As a psychologist, Johnson has a private practice in Grants Pass, about an hour northeast of the caves. He's an experienced outdoorsman who grew up in Oregon and lived for years in Alaska. He says the animal he saw on that day 8 years ago looked a lot like the creature in the famous 1967 footage taken by Roger Patterson at Bluff Creek, California. The following is his description of the events that took place after he and his family decided to head into a more remote part of the National Monument.
It was around 5 p.m. when my family
I still see my
reached
brother
this part
in my
of the
room.
trail,
Won't get
about a
in.
mile up
Won't
the
get back the
mountainside
phone that I
from
gave
the,
you.
gift shop and
If I leave him,
caves
Mom
tour
said that I
area.
gotta take you,
And,
but I
we
can't
had
escape you, so I
walked
must
through here,
replace you.
about 100 more
Easier
feet
said
that
than
way,
done. You go
and
tell Mom
coming
again.
downwind through these thick trees and the brush was a very strong stench that smelled as strong as a skunk, but it wasn't a skunk. It had a distinctly different smell, but it was something that grabbed your nostrils. And we had never smelled anything like it hiking and camping in
I still
Alaska.
see my brother in
We
my
weren't
room.
scared.
Won't get back the phone
just
that I
knew
gave you.
there was
If
something
I can leave you, I gotta
Most of the
take
nearly
you, and I can't
100,000
replace you, so I
who
must
come to the
escape
Oregon
you.
caves
Well,
each year
easier
don't
said
take the
than done. You
difficult
go
hike
tell
of
Mom
more than
again.
3 miles over steep
So I would never
mountain
take
terrain.
Mom. Wait till you break another game.
Along this
There's
part
my
of the
brother
trail
in
when
my
we were
room.
hiking here,
Won't get back the phone that I gave
the
you.
animal was
If I leave you,
paralleling
he
us
says I
down there
gotta
in
take
the
you,
brush
then why
and the
won't
trees.
listen
We
to
couldn't
so
see it, but we could
you
hear
know,
it through
easier
the
said than done. You
bass-like
go to Mom
guttural
again.
mammal.
So I would never take mine.
Whoa, whoa.
You break another game.
And we would stop and listen, and it stopped making the noises. And we were whispering to each other about, did you hear that? Yeah. And earlier on, when we first heard
I can't make it to
was
you
kind
in
of
time.
faint. And I thought for a moment that I was so out of shape and my blood vessels were pounding near my eardrums that that's what I was hearing. But the second time I heard it and stopped the family, they all said, we hear it. So then we would walk for a little bit and it would start up again. Whoa, 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 from down there. Then we'd stop and listen and look again. Couldn't see anything. And then we kept walking again. Pray. stopped making the noise. He kept walking
No!
a bit farther until he got to the spot where kids wanted to break. And was fighting with the bug on the path, and I had to answer a call. Mother Nature was dying.
I have these lucid
As he ventured farther up the trail, he arrived at the spot where he says he saw.
Zach, don't kick Shooter.
He did his best to set the scene, describing the positions of his various family members.
The kids were squatted down.
Yeah.
Alright,
Like
default.
Playing with the
guess.
bug on the dirt and stick. And my wife
I don't know, I just want to be a
was standing right there,
Zach, stop kicking them.
looking this way.
Johnson said the Bigfoot was about 60 feet below the trail, standing behind a large tree and looking over a smaller one.
cousin.
Big tree right here.
Won't give back the phone that I gave you. If I leave once, I gotta take you to my graduation, so I must
Leaving his wife and
get on your side, but never takes my.
about 60 feet from his family and slightly back down the trail. After he had finished, something down in the trees below him caught his attention, and it gave him a shock in his life.
And then out of the left corner of my eye, I saw movement.
Okay.
Alright. Yeah, forget him. No. If he joins, he's getting kicked.
Cause he's a bum for that. Invite me to a party.
Reality. And I saw him walk.
Alright. But my cousin's in party chat, so I mean he plays on Xbox.
And then I saw us looking
So don't.
behind this tree over
don't go nowhere. No,
a
stay
numerous
here.
tree, watching my
If he
family
tries to
down
join,
on the trail.
Boogie's gonna kick him because he don't know him. Just like he said to Boogie. Put on the sword.
I don't have that.
Oh yeah, you don't have season
Johnson
6
is
battle pass.
6'9"
I do.
100 pounds, but he said he was dwarfed by the
Oh yeah, you do.
branches.
And for
Yeah.
what was only a couple seconds, but
Yeah,
seemed
yes.
like
Wait, can
a
you hear my
slow-motion
cousin?
movie, I was in a major state of panic, not knowing what to do, and then I had these really protective instincts kick in, and this was my family, and I didn't know what to do other than what to do with the grizzly bear in Alaska, and I ran a straight line from up there down toward that tree. I hit the trail.
Yeah.
And I turned left and came running up this way. I avoided eye contact with the animal because I didn't want it to think I was challenging it. Got up here to my family and said, let's go, let's move. They're looking at me like, what's the problem? And I'm like, go now, move. And I move them up. And they know I'm a pretty laid-back mellow guy.
Tyler!
Something was up and they started moving.
You're playing computer games, aren't you?
Right now I'm watching a YouTube video. I'll pause it. Alright, let's get it, boys. Tell me why we're going out to dinner today, and I got my all black school shirt on. My mama made me wear that.
Tell me why I'm still looking for Who Gives a Fuck. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, bad. Don't ask you to be revved. I'm just kidding.
I said I was just kidding. I said I was just kidding.
You know what's funny? Some people be like, if you say that to the wrong guy, they're gonna be like, yep, I don't give a fuck about you being down either. And I got that new pump. I got that new pump.
What?
Shooter. How do you feel? I got a new pump. Your cousin died, didn't? Oh, you took.
How?
I'm coming.
Well, I'm dead.
They,
Why the heck are you, Tyler? What the heck?
Here's the fetus deletus. No, because I was literally in there, so I just left. I didn't know where they were, and I swear I was getting shot at.
Are you leaving the lobby?
No, I'm just kicking him.
Oh.
Wow.
Why are you kicking? Don't kick him.
I already did. Why does he never land with us?
Yep. Come here, buddy. Oh, wow. As soon as I say come in here.
Yeah.
He knows where I am. He knows, so he's gonna come directly here.
I wanna play with him. Ooh, he died.
What's up, buddy?
Alright, peace, Boogie. See you later.
Well, after walking a few hundred yards, they stopped and Johnson told his wife what he had seen, and they came up with a plan to continue on the trail to get back to the caves.
And I said, if this animal comes up, you take the kids. You run as fast as you can. You get out of here. Don't stop. If you hear anything going on, you don't stop. You run. And I'll run interference. And the interference, if this animal came up, would have been minimal. Because I'm 6'9", 300 pounds, size 16 feet.
Oh God, to log on my other account so I can.
Johnson says he suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, and he relives the extreme fear each time he retells the story of the encounter.
For a couple weeks after the encounter, I had nightmares where I'd be standing up there, and I would watch in my dreams the animal come up from behind the tree and attack my family. And I would wake up sweating, breathing, heart pounding.
In the years since his encounter, Johnson has gone into the wilderness on expeditions, trying to get another glimpse of the animal he saw that day. He said what he's learned since has made him realize he shouldn't have been so scared.
Over the last 8 years, they've been outside our camp. They could have attacked. They don't attack. They're just curious. They're smart.
I'm going the entire DJ Yonder set. I got the entire DJ Yonder set, kid. Dang it, I couldn't.
Really helpless.
Johnson may have spooked the creature when he came down the steep bank to get to his family, because he said they didn't see, hear, or smell the animal after Johnson saw it. They walked the rest of the Big Tree Loop trail without incident. But Johnson says his encounter with the creature has changed him forever.
Every guy has a hobby, and on July 1st, 2000, my hobby found me up there on the mountain in those woods. And as long as I'm physically able and my friends are willing, we're going to continue to scour.
In part 1 of Encounter at the Caves, we traveled with local psychologist Matthew
Hurry.
to the...
What is up, believers? It is September 13th, roughly 2 days away from Hurricane Florence hitting the destination we're at. So, but now, could this be clumped up?
I'm going to the block.
5 frightening forest.
No, I'm going to Lazy.
Large trees.
No, I'm going behind Lazy. I'm going behind the Lazy Links to my little hut.
Get away from the stress of city living. But there are certain forests that you should be wary of. The 5 woodlands on this list have gained a reputation for being sinister, dark, and even deadly. These are 5 frightening forests you should never visit. Number 5, Devil's Tramping Ground.
It's not hunting.
Years before American
So we gotta go to Lazy, get choose a weapon. We gotta dip out of Lazy to get.
County in North Carolina lies a 15-foot wide circle where no life has ever grown. They call it the Devil's Tramping Ground. Year after year, no plant life grows within the circle. Despite being surrounded by the woods, no trees, no flowers, no anything grows here. And locals say, even when plants are transplanted within, they just wilt and die. Animals also seem to sense something sinister is afoot. Dogs tuck their tails between their legs as they approach. They howl and yelp as if some mysterious force is bearing down on them. Even stranger, local folks say any item placed within a circle, no matter how big or small, mysteriously gets flung outside of its bounds by dawn. Men who thought themselves brave by spending the night camping in the circle claim to have seen or heard things during their night vigil that they can't speak of. Boy Scouts who have mistakenly pitched their tent inside the circle wake up the next day to find their tents far away from where they placed them. At least 2 men have tried to stay awake all night while within the circle. Both say they were lulled to sleep by a soft voice and melody. When they woke the next day, they also found themselves now outside of the circle. So what makes this place so mysterious? Legend has it that the devil himself walks here at night. Inside the silent dark forest, he rises and paces around in a circle, scorching the earth beneath him with his hooves. His thoughts focused on the malice and havoc that he wants to wreak upon humans. The mystery of the Devil's Tramping Ground has gone on for over a century. Generation after generation, the story is passed down. Scientists have been consulted and asked why only this particular area remains barren, and even they have no answer. The area today is popular among paranormal researchers. For the locals of Chatham,
what the what? How?
Far away from the circle. Of course, teenagers love to hang out there. It's unclear whether they have any stories to tell of their own, and if they've seen or felt the devil also drive them away from his sacred place. Number 4, man finds missing person shrine. James Rankin was on a leisurely hike in October of 2016, exploring Huntington's Berkeley Jackson County Park in New York, when he came across a terrifying sight. He was walking along when something posted on the trees.
I could get a dub in one. Bro, I could get a dub in one shot. But sniper shootouts? Man, skip that. Hey, let's go full DJ Underset. Hey, okay, hey, you know the, what's it called? The equalizer is a part of the DJ Underset. Yeah. DJ Yonder's a part of the glider that makes music. He's a DJ Yonder's a part of the Twin Turbulent set. So is the his back bling. So is his harvest tool. And so is his glider, the equalizer.
Wondered what kind of human being would do such a thing in the middle of the woods.
He doesn't have one.
It was as if the area was made to look like a shrine to all those missing people.
Just bring. I'm gonna use my old one, the retro scythe. I'm gonna use my old one, which was called the Shooting Star.
Rankin himself. But once he made it out of the woods, he immediately contacted police and showed them the video. Authorities in a werewolf, Bigfoot, a slimy 3-legged monster. For some, the mere mention of these creatures garners a chuckle. For others, they create a sense of fear and fascination. A werewolf, Bigfoot, a slimy 3-legged monster. For some, the mere mention of these creatures garners a chuckle. For others, they create a sense of fear and fascination. But the idea that there may be many beasts out there yet to be discovered is something that should interest us all. These are the top 5 most credible creature encounters. Number 5, the story of Xana. Known as the Wild Woman, Xana was found and captured by local hunters as they explored the dense forests of the Oxfordshire region of Georgia and Russia. The year was 1850, and the hunters were scavenging the forest for whatever they could find, when they saw something that looked like a half-ape, half-woman. Much of her body, including her torso, legs, arms, and fingers, were massive and covered in thick auburn hair. Despite being ferocious and violent, the hunters captured her and took her back to the nearby village of Sakina, where she was given to a nobleman, Edgy Geneva. She was given the name Xana. At first, she was so violent she had to be placed in a cage where she dug herself a hole in the ground to sleep. They couldn't go near her to give her food, so it was thrown at her instead. Over time, she calmed down and became more domesticated. She was transferred to a larger enclosure, and then later roamed free. Although she was still
I was waiting to shoot fire.
The villagers were able to go near her when she was happy. Xana was placed in a cage where she dug herself a hole in the ground to sleep. They couldn't go near her to give her food, so it was thrown at her instead. Over time, she calmed down and became more domesticated. She was transferred to a larger enclosure, and then later allowed to roam free. Although she was still vicious when in a bad mood, the villagers were able to go near her when she was happy. Xana learned how to grind stone and collect firewood, and only showed fear when her master Edgy would scold her. She was incredibly strong and had a huge tolerance for the cold. She hated wearing clothes because they made her feel hot, and it was said she could lift a 175-pound sack of rice with one hand up a hill. She was able to climb trees with ease to reach grapes, which she loved, and would often roam the forest at night, but stayed close by because she was fed and sheltered. She ended up giving birth to several children, some of which survived while others died because of her habit to dip the newborns in freezing water. Her children were of normal appearance, and the father gave 4 away to nearby villages. There were 2 girls who were born in 1880 and 1882, and the 2 boys were born in 1878 and 1884, and they all lived normal lives, assimilated into society, married, and even had families of their own. Xana died in 1890, and the location of her remains are unknown, so it's impossible to fully study. However, her son's skull has been studied, and is said to be atypical, bearing similarities to those found during the Neolithic period, which was around 10,000 BC. DNA testing of her relatives has concluded she was of sub-Saharan African ancestry, but they couldn't fit her in any known group. Many also believe she and her breed give credibility to the myth of the Almas or the Almaslar. These are legendary creatures said to roam around Central Asia, Russia, and the Caucasus. They are considered to be more wild people as opposed to apes, the Yeti, or Bigfoot. The Almas were bipedal, had reddish-brown hair on their body, pronounced brow ridge, flat nose, and a weaker chin, all of which Xana possessed. Accounts of them date back to the 15th century, where Mongolian families had spotted and even interacted.
What the heck you think you are?
There are those who speculate the Almas are relic Neanderthals. Whatever the truth may be, it's an unusual point in our biological history. It's something that remains a fascinating mystery. Number 4, the Enfield Horror.
Passive.
Considered one of the creatures.
Oh, shut up!
The Enfield Horror is not your run-of-the-mill creature. It all started in 1973 in the small town of Enfield.
What?
Around 9 p.m. on April 25th, a young boy named Greg Garrett was in his backyard playing when suddenly he started screaming and running towards his parents in the living room. He told them a monster had stomped on his feet, tearing open his shoes with its claws. Police were called, but they couldn't find any signs of the creature. Then about a half hour later, Henry McDaniel, Garrett's neighbor, found his children in a panic because they were hearing loud scratching noises on the front door. Thinking it was most likely a dog, Henry opened it, He was shocked to find an unusual creature staring back. He slammed the door shut, grabbed his pistol, and headed back out to shoot whatever the beast was, but it leapt into the air so fast he lost sight of it. He then called the police, and they found unusual footprints, including those resembling a dog's, but with 6 toe pads. There were also only 3 legs and unusual scratch marks on his door, as he had said. When asked to describe what exactly it was he saw, Henry told them it had 3 legs on it, a short body, 2 little short arms coming out of its breast area, and 2 pink eyes as big as flashlights. It stood 4.5 feet tall and was grayish in color. It was trying to get in. Soon enough, the account of McDaniels and little Garrett had made the rounds in the small town. Visitors, monster hunters, and curiosity seekers came in droves trying to capture or see it for themselves. 2 hunters reported spotting a gray monkey. They tried to shoot it, but it was too fast, while others claimed to have hit it, but it didn't faze the beast. Other witnesses came forward, including a news director for a radio station, WWKI, in Kokomo. While hunting,
I'm going for a carbide set. Carbide set.
Over an abandoned home near McDaniel's property. It was too fast for them to track, and it disappeared into the forest. Slowly, the reports of creature sightings stopped, and to this day, no one knows what the Enfield horror was. Many have proposed it could have been a misidentified animal, possibly a kangaroo or large dog, wildcats, or others. There are those that believe it may have been a genetically experimented on animal, and then others say it may have been an alien or even a demon of some sort. An interesting fact is that 40 miles away from Enfield, and 30 years prior, there were several reports of a strange creature in the town of Mount Vernon. It was described to be baboon-like and could leap great distances. It was also blamed for the various deaths of livestock in the area. Could it have been the same creature that had then traveled to Enfield? Or did all these people mistake some common animal for a monstrous creature? Number 3, the Converse Wolf Monster. Werewolves are one of the most famous cryptid creatures out there, and one reported case of the man-beast happened in Converse, Texas. The story of the huge werewolf creature first began during the 1800s, but the most recent and commonly retold one happened in the 1960s. A rancher lived on a piece of land with his son, and while the father was a rugged man who preferred the pioneer's way of living, his son was more bookish and timid. In a bid to make a man out of him, he forced him to go out into the woods alone to hunt and kill his first deer. While reluctant, the boy couldn't say no, and so he set off. He headed to a heavily wooded area known ominously as Skull's Crossing, and after several hours on the hunt, saw that a large creature was stalking him. Fearing for his life, he ran back home and told his dad he saw a creature resembling a werewolf. True to fashion, the rancher dismissed the boy's claims and told him to go back out into the woods and resume his hunt. Despite the fear, the boy obeyed his father and headed back. Several hours passed, and it was beginning to get dark when the boy still hadn't returned. Now worried about his safety, the rancher gathered a search party and began looking for him. As they made their way into the woods, the party was horrified at what they saw. A monstrous, hairy creature hunched over the boy's body, devouring him. The men fired their guns and fled, and the creature, or werewolf, was described to be 8 to 9 feet tall and covered in thick, dark hair.
That's tough.
Devastated by the death,
Hold on, I have to break it. I have to get my wall out and then break it.
he became a recluse before ultimately dying. Today, the story of the Converse monster still makes the rounds. While many believe it could be a werewolf, others say it's possible it was a wood ape or Sasquatch. While Sasquatches are believed to not eat humans, they are credited as having similar diets to that of black bears. And on occasion, black bears do hunt meat, especially when it comes as an easy meal.
That's why.
Number 2, the Pope Monster.
You can just see all the chaos.
Watch the Pope Monster is a mythical beast often sighted around the town of Pope in Miller County, Arkansas. It's described as a large hominid-like creature that's covered
Well, what are you thinking?
stands 7 feet tall,
Okay.
somewhere between
That's good.
200 pounds. And according to witnesses, it's said to bear a chest width of 3 feet or more. When it moves, it almost looks like it's galloping. And its arms swing back and forth just like a monkey. It has bright red eyes and smells terrible, like a skunk or a wet dog. Additionally, footprints measuring 17 inches and having only 3 toes are attributed to this monster.
Give me them toes.
Marks and various
Give me them.
have also been discovered in the area that are roaming.
Give me them toes.
Since 1970,
Give me them toes. Wait.
cited several
Wait. Give me them toes.
particular incidents that define
Bro, I am trying not to get backed.
in May of
Get backed.
1971, Elizabeth Ford
Oh. Oh, where you think you going, Lynx? What?
thinking it was a bear, her husband Bobby and his brother Don managed to chase it away. However, just before midnight on May 2nd, it returned. This time it grabbed grounds. While many believe it could be a werewolf, others say it's possible it was a wood ape or Sasquatch. While Sasquatches are believed to not eat humans, they are credited as having similar diets to that of black bears. And on occasion, black bears do hunt meat, especially when it comes as an easy meal. Number 2, the folk monster. Dubbed as the Southern Sasquatch, the folk monster is a mythical beast often sighted around the town of Folk in Miller County, Arkansas. It's described as a large hominid-like creature that's covered in long black hair. It stands 7 feet tall and weighs somewhere between 200 and 300 pounds. And according to witnesses, it's said to bear a chest width of 3 feet or more. When it moves, it almost looks like it's galloping. Its arms swing back and forth just like a monkey. It has bright red eyes and smells terrible like a skunk or a dog. Additionally, footprints measuring 17 inches and having only 3 toes are attributed to this monster. Claw marks and various tracks have also been discovered in the area that are known. Since the 1970s, the folk monster has been sighted in several swampy areas in the county, but there was one particular incident that defined its existence. In May of 1971, Elizabeth Ford was sleeping on her couch when she was awoken by a creature reaching through the screen window. Initially thinking it was a bear, her husband Bobby and his brother Don managed to chase it away. However, just before midnight on May 2nd, it returned. This time it grabbed Bobby by the shoulders and threw him on the ground. He managed to crawl away to safety. He was brought to the hospital where he was treated for claw wounds and mild shock.
Top 5 most incredible creatures encounters.
When they fired shots, but they couldn't find any sign of blood. When police came, they found tracks around the home, damage to the window and scratch marks on the siding of the house. A couple of weeks later, the creature was seen crossing Highway 71, and soon more witnesses came forward. Some told of seeing an ape-like hairy creature, and further footprints were discovered. One of them was found in a soybean field, and it was scrutinized by the game warden, but he couldn't identify what type of animal it belonged to. After that, the popularity of the folk monster as well as the surge in sightings attracted locals and tourists. A movie was even made which put Folk County on the map. Today, many still wonder whether the monster ever existed in the first place.
We're gonna get loot from right here where I'm going, and then we're gonna hit the extra foggy places, like here. We're gonna camp in the fog. Like my idea.
Long time. Some believe it all to be a hoax, and others say there's no doubt they exist. The following is a 911 call capturing a terrified resident.
All I got was a grenade and an AR.
The call was recorded in 1990 when a man described seeing a large creature in his yard. The authenticity in his voice is hard to deny. Have a listen and decide for yourself.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something. Looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just it ran across the yard.
Okay. You've had problems in the neighborhood before?
Oh, I gotta go. Yeah! Yeah! What?
Bring your cake season ass here.
But you know how I haven't seen.
Alright, you better go.
Right?
You better
Trying to cut sucking your thumb.
Trying to. No, I said.
How's that?
I do, obviously. You got 2 seconds to leave this premises.